If you have a child who is a strong reader and you want to push them to be even stronger, or if you have a child who is struggling with reading and you want to bump them up very quickly, you've come to the right video. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Akiba. I'm a certified teacher turned homeschool mom. On this channel, we talk about how to maximize our children's potential and have fun while doing it, so please consider subscribing. Today, I'm going to tell you 5 super easy things that you can do to increase your child's reading ability very quickly. I use this method in my classroom as a second-year teacher when I didn't really know what I was doing in teaching reading. I had students who were strong readers grow 2, 3, and 4 years, yes, 4 years in just 6 months. And I had children, including kids in special education, grow 1 and 1.5 years in 6 months. Now, they still need phonics instruction. And looking back, if I would have known that key piece, those children who were struggling could have grew much faster. But I'm going to tell you this, if you're having trouble understanding how to teach phonics or just struggling to find the time, these 5 tips, these 5 habits that you can put in place today will really help you. So let's get into it. I also want to mention that this video is kindly sponsored by KiwiCo, who you'll be hearing a little bit more about later in the video. So let's get started with the first habit. The first habit I know you've heard before, but I'm going to give you a little bit information on it. You need to read with your child at least 4 times a week. Now, people say daily because they figure you're probably going to read a little bit less than that, but 4 to 7 times a week is ideal. Now, why do I say with your child and not just having your child read? When you read with your child, they gain vocabulary. They're able to ask you questions. The other day, my child asked me, "What's this?" It was a hockey puck, and I didn't even realize she didn't know that word. Now, how does that help when you are teaching a child how to read phonics? Well, it's a lot easier to sound out the word peacock when you know what a peacock is. So you'll see kids who have extensive reading histories say peacock, and then, oh, peacock. I know what that is because my mom read me this book about the zoo or a safari. So no, we don't want to teach a child to guess, but yes, we do recognize that when children have bigger vocabularies, it makes teaching and understanding that phonics much easier for them. Also, they're going to gain that print awareness and pre-reading skills that I talked about in a previous video by reading to your child at least 4 times a week. So you don't even need to watch that video if you're just consistently reading to them, making the voices as you read, and reading a bunch of different types of books to them. Now, I know as a parent, it's easier said than done when I say read books to your child every single day because I know you guys are busy. Here's a couple things I do to make sure that happens. Number 1, I love reading to them beginner chapter books. So I love Charlotte's Web and the My Father's Dragon series. I also love anthologies like Nelson Mandela's Favorite African Folktales because that way I have the book in my hand and then we're reading a chapter a night. And I would also say make sure you, number 2, choose books that are interesting to adults as well. When you choose really great authors like a Roald Dahl, the books are also going to be interesting for you. And the last thing I do is I use the Libby app, which is just a free library app. So you have access to books at any library across the world for free so that you're not having to feel like, oh, I need to check out 10 or 15 books from the library today. They're right at your hands, at your disposal on your app. And make sure you find really short chapters or really short books, maybe about 10 minutes, because you don't want to overwhelm yourself or the child. And why do I say 10 minutes? Well, that speaks to number 2, which is that you're going to discuss these books with your children as you read. So even though it's a short book, maybe 10 minutes, you're going to spend 5 to 10 minutes discussing the book. So that means as you're reading, don't just read them the words and turn the page. Stop and say, I wonder why this character did this, or I predict this is going to happen next. What do you think will happen next? Maybe you want to discuss, oh wow, look, they made a sweet potato pie. Remember, we made this sweet potato pie at that time? How is this character's life similar to our life? How is it different? So you're going to have a discussion as you read. And this goes for any age child from 2 to 18. Discussing a book with your child is going to increase their comprehension and their vocabulary. It's going to give them a chance to ask you to clarify what certain things mean. What is this idiom, or why is this word spelled this way? The number one way to increase a child's vocabulary is to read with them. Obviously, you're talking with them all the time. You're pointing out things in nature and in society. But books can take us places that we can't go with our kids, and they can make sure they learn about a variety of topics. Now, number 3 is going to hurt some feelings. It's not going to hurt your feelings, but it might hurt some feelings. Okay, sorry to interrupt, but I want to tell you about the wonderful sponsor of today's video. If you are looking to get into the fall spirit with your children, try these hands-on Halloween KiwiCo projects. I recently completed the Light Up Haunted House and Unicorn with my girls, and it was such a great kickoff to the spooky season that we're thinking of making it a fall tradition every year. Now more than ever, children are spending time at home learning, and KiwiCo is a great resource because there's no work on your part, but the kids have a lot of fun and learn a lot. Amashe loved being able to create her own little trick-or-treat bag and her own costume. She couldn't do it all herself, but she really focused and was motivated to finish.
Whoa.
Apiwe basically did this whole thing herself, you guys. I just had to reread a couple of directions, but that feeling of I made my own light up house was all over her face. If you have kids who love to create and build, or if you have kids who are a little bit hesitant and need a confidence booster, I would highly recommend the Haunted House. You all have heard me talk a lot about KiwiCo, so if you want to support my channel and have fun, click on this link in the description below to purchase the Halloween projects without a subscription at kiwico.com/AkibaHalloween. But don't wait, purchase today because these sold out completely last year. Thanks again to KiwiCo for sponsoring today's video. Now back to our content. So number 3 is going to hurt some feelings, not your feelings hopefully, but some feelings, and that's to choose high quality books. These days, anyone with money can publish a book. Celebrities, YouTubers, random children's shows. Now, why do I say this? There is a big difference between a good literary book that is going to teach children to love reading and a book that somebody wrote because they have money and they can. Anyone can self-publish a book, and anyone with money can publish a book. I think that's great. We need a wider variety of books, but when it comes to teaching children how to read, it's really important to choose good books. If you look at a book written by random celebrity and you look at a book written by a really good children's author, the difference is astounding, and you may not notice it, but I'm sure you librarians and literary specialists out there could probably explain this better than me. Okay, so I spent about 20 minutes explaining this to you, and then when I went back to edit, I just decided to make an easy chart that will explain the difference. I don't want to make it sound like I'm saying do not buy these books, do not support these people, but I have to be honest when it comes to quality children's books. In quality children's books, the characters are complex, imperfect, and realistic. They teach morals and values through the actions of characters, and the child is thinking and making judgments after their reading. In just okay children's books, the characters are very one-dimensional and obvious. They teach through the words, and the book does the thinking for the child, leaving no room for discussion. So here we see CJ giving up his seat. The children must think about, what does that mean when you give up your seat for someone? Then the man compliments Nana and she squeezes his hand. So what do all these things mean? They can take examples from their own life and they can understand, oh, this is how we show kindness. On the other hand, in other books, children are simply told, we share, and are given an example of sharing cookies. And also sometimes you'll see random things that sound cute but don't really make sense in these type of books, like, that's the way the cookie crumbles. That's actually the opposite of what we're going for when teaching kindness. Anyway, just trust me, you need to choose high quality books because also a lot of those books are boring for kids. They might be excited because, oh, this is a character that I know. But for a struggling reader or for someone who doesn't really like reading, they're going to need more than just, oh, this is a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle book in order to really gain that love of literacy. That love of literacy is going to come by reading books that are written by really strong authors. Now, if you are thinking, well, how do I know what's a good book? One easy thing that you can do is choose award winners. If you've ever seen a little like gold or silver award on a book, you know that book is an award winner. Books can win awards for different things. They can win awards for illustrations, they can win awards for best children's book, they can win awards for nonviolent social change. So make sure that you are taking a look at what awards this book won and if that's going to make it a good book for you to read to your child. Another good idea is to go on Scholastic or Amazon and look for the books that are marked as teachers pick, because teachers tend to pick books that are teaching a skill and not books that are just written by somebody who is famous. Number 4 is so easy, but it has such a big impact on your child's comprehension, and that is to choose books from a variety of genres. So don't be reading all just fiction, realistic fiction books, or reading all nonfiction books. Choose informational text, choose fantasies, choose fables, choose folk tales, choose biographies. Choosing a variety of genres exposes children to different cultures, to different vocabulary, to different topics, and it has them asking more questions so that they will be super prepared, especially as they enter upper elementary school and middle school, with comprehending different, more complex books. In addition to different genres of text, make sure you are choosing books about different subjects. So for example, my child would have known what a hockey puck was if I had read her stories or encouraged her to read non-fictional text or stories about hockey players. Just because that's not really my thing or my culture doesn't mean I should avoid that. So don't avoid books about cars and trucks and mechanics just because your child is a girl and they only want to read books about princesses. And don't ignore books about arts or musicians or ballerinas just because your child is a boy and you feel like they don't want to read about that. Expose them to a variety of different topics, and that's going to make the reading process that much easier for them. And last but not least, number 5, encourage your child to tell you stories. I love doing this, especially on days when I'm too tired to read them a bedtime story. I tell them, hey, why don't you tell me a bedtime story? And what does this do? Again, it reinforces the vocabulary, so they use words from books that we've already read that week. It also helps them with comprehension strategies such as sequencing, and give them feedback. If they tell you, once upon a time there was this, then ask them, hold on, wait, is this a fairy tale? Because fairy tales start with once upon a time. Oh, it's not a fairy tale? Start your story in a different way. If they start telling you about what happened with one character then another and you can't keep track, tell them that, give them feedback, and that's going to make them better writers. And we know that reading and writing, they go like this. They have to be writing at the same time as reading. And what I love to do when my children come to me and say, let me tell you this, let me tell you this, I'll say, oh, I really want to hear that. Can you write it down for me? And then I will read it, or we'll read it for our bedtime or our story time. And even if they're not strong writers, they just tell them, do the best you can, draw pictures, and then come and tell me that story later. So that's it. Really easy things, right? You could implement some of these things today. Number 1, just to review, is to read with your child 4 to 7 times a week. Number 2 was to discuss the book that you're reading with your child. Ask them questions, make predictions. Number 3, choose high quality books. Choose award winners and teachers' picks. Number 4, choose books from a variety of genres. And number 5, encourage your child to tell you stories as well as write them down. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. See you next time.